There's an episode of The Office where one of the characters mistakes the word sedentary for sedimentary. Sedentary is a type of lifestyle that's characterized by just not moving, no physical activity whatsoever. You could use it to describe people who sit all day scrolling through Tumblr trying to find validation for the new gender they just made up, or describing their own race in percentages. This website makes me want to shit my pants. So if somebody called you sedentary, it's basically the same thing as calling you lazy, but while that's a little bit insulting, I think being called sedimentary would be way more offensive. As if I've been so motionless for so long that the pressure of my own weight on myself has condensed me from something relatively movable into just layer upon layer of rock solid, lumpy mass. And you could cut me in half and study my layers to determine what exactly I was doing at what period in time. This part right here is from 2010 AD. And you could tell by the thickness that I was a 5-minute walk away from cheap pizza 5 days a week for about a year. And you'll notice a change in pigment in this area. And that's around the time I officially decided to stop going outside unless I heard a car accident or somehow became even closer to cheap pizza. This striped pattern here marks a pretty interesting time actually, because this is when I would work out for about 2 days, see zero results, and then spend the rest of the week contemplating the futility of trying anything if I'm just gonna die anyway. Feel free to touch it, just a little bit of forewarning. You might come away with some thick, soupy black liquid, but don't worry, that's just concentrated self-disgust. That'll come right out in the shower. I spent 6 hours putting price stickers on My Little Pony characters a few days ago. That's the joke. Actually, it's the punchline, and the setup is just my life. What's more, the entire ordeal was accompanied by an oral history of the television show as told by a coworker, which was great. Pretty much just come put your dick in my face, and then while you're at it, just piss. Like, I don't want either, but I guess I'm here. I was also reprimanded by a supervisor because apparently some higher-up is obsessive-compulsive to the point where if a sticker is just slightly askew, their head is going to melt into their chest cavity and they will cry into their own lungs, drowning on their agonizing tears right before digesting and then expelling what's left of their skull and brain. Stickers just gotta be on straight, man, or else. I feel like there's a homophobia joke in there somewhere. That experience is the closest I've ever been to actually working in a sweatshop, which is kind of a misnomer because while I'm sure they're sweating, they make like 7 cents an hour, so they're not going to be shopping for anything. Or does the name come from it being a shop that manufactures sweat? Because then is a gym a sweatshop? Because now that I think about it, there are a few similarities. Nobody really wants to be there. Not really the kind of place to bring a kid unless you want it to be crushed by a heavy machine. And no matter where you turn, you're surrounded by Nike. There's also pretty healthy competition. Like in a gym, if you don't bench as much as everybody else, you're gonna get made fun of a little. And likewise, in a sweatshop, if you don't put a Shrek head on the rest of the doll fast enough, you might get your hand chopped off. So, you know, give and take. At least in a sweatshop, there's a lot less danger of being exposed to a bunch of sweaty dudes' naked dicks in a locker room or something. Unless somebody got it caught in a press. And I mean, when you're running instead of on a dumb treadmill, like it's somewhere important, like to freedom or away from a whip. Slave labor comes in many shapes and sizes. There should be a joke there.